Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
Well, in case you didn't know, America has a loneliness epidemic, but is Mark Zuckerberg right? Can artificial intelligence be the prescription for healing? In just a minute, our Morning Light panel will tackle that difficult and unusual question.
Yeah, a very good question, though. But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Lighthouse TV's host of Digging for Truth, Henry Smith, talks about this year's trip to Israel and what they hope to discover. Also, planning for the future, especially when it comes to your money, how a Christian financial advisor can positively influence you and help you reach your goals in a godly way.
So take out your notebook, right?
That's right.
41-year-old Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, the parent company of social platforms Facebook and Instagram, has a solution for America's epidemic of loneliness. For years, everyone from sociologists and politicians to academics and religious leaders have been warning more Americans are living in isolation. Well, last year, the Surgeon General listed some contributing factors to this epidemic of loneliness: a breakdown in community, friends, loved ones, and a collapse of support systems. In an interview with podcaster Dwarkesh Patel, Zuckerberg seems confident AI can fix the problem. What do you think?
I don't know about that.
Don't give your answer. We'll leave that for the panel.
Okay. Well, in recent years, nursing homes have been experimenting with robot caregivers and companions to fill in the gaps.
That's a weird sentence.
That is.
It sure is.
I can't imagine it. AI is rapidly becoming a preferred relationship fixer, providing judgment-free therapy based on your own values. Mark Zuckerberg envisions virtual friendships replacing the ones we are missing. He admits physical connections are good when you can have them, but many people don't have those connections and feel alone a lot more than they would like to admit.
Nothing more than, Alexa, what should I wear this morning, right?
That's right, or Alexa, what's the weather? But it's not your friend.
We probably messed up a lot of people's experiences right now with Alexa talking back to them. Well, it wasn't always this way. 194 years ago this month, a young Frenchman came to the United States to study prisons for the French government. Alexis de Tocqueville's 9-month travel log filled 15 notebooks and became one of the most detailed snapshots of any country in any time. His book, Democracy in America, described a country united, held together by a spirit of service, from churches and missionary organizations to hospitals and prisons and book distribution. America's strength, he said, was in its mission. So how can we solve the epidemic of loneliness with people? Or not AI, or maybe a combination of both? Or is there something we can learn from our very distant past about the power of human connection, organization by mission, and responding to need? Our Morning Light panel will tackle this challenging question this morning. And for a special Friday, we mixed it up. We've added 2 of our all-star panelists back.
Wow.
Kurt Weaver, welcome back.
I don't know about all-stars.
I hope you're ready and well-rested, because this is, and Pastor Joe Green is back. You were here Monday, and you're back here on Friday. Thank you.
Book
and Michelle, welcome. Glad to have you. The issue of friendship is doesn't come up on the list of controversies, but the lack of friendship impacts all of society, and every data point points to the fact that Americans are living in isolation, whether it's Gen Z and millennials or senior citizens in nursing homes. Very few people have a handful or one very good friend. Michelle, what is going on? Why is it so difficult for people to make friends?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of different...
And we're all friends here, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of different reasons. I think our schedules are overwhelmed a lot of times. I think people aren't necessarily stopping to know their neighbors anymore. We are just on this... I think we thought that with digital things coming into play, it does make our life easier on one front, but it also speeds it up. 400
friends, right?
Yeah, but it also speeds it up as well.
Yeah.
And it can make things seem a little more impersonal. So instead of someone getting out in the yard to talk to somebody, they might spend more time on social media, making comments, liking things, posting things. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But I think we're losing a little bit of our desire. We're designed for fellowship. And so if we were desiring that, if we didn't have these other things available, it might prompt us to get outside and meet our neighbors.
You make an interesting point, which is front porch. We don't have front porches on many homes anymore. We have back porches with fences around them, but not many front porches. What's happening? What do you think is causing the breakdown? People say COVID, but it feels like it's much deeper than one event.
I think the depthness of it all is that our society is trying to recreate what it means to be human. And as Christians, we understand the Christian anthropology. You know, what
big word there, break
it's a
it down
big,
for me.
like, you know, the study of human, like, and societies, and how are we meant to be human in this world. And we know two things that God has commanded us as Christians to do, and that is to love God and to love others. And it's really hard to love others. You know, the New Testament talks about the one another's.
Right.
You can't have the one another's. You can't care for one another. You can't befriend one another. You can't serve one another digitally or virtually.
But I can heart their pictures. I don't have to. I don't have to physically touch somebody. I can heart it. I can send a prayer emoji up and never have to feel like I've got to smell them or talk to them or eat their food.
I do think that the digital revolution has brought some good things, right? So you can connect with people around the world
anymore.
Yeah, well, we can pick up the phone, or we can FaceTime someone. So there are some good things that have come through the digital revolution, but things are happening so quickly that I don't think we're evaluating some of the ramifications that might come from this.
I want to, before we go to you, Joe, I want to look at Mark Zuckerberg's comments on Mr. Patel's podcast. And the question really that Patel asked was, so you're going to use AI now to recreate relationships. And here's how Zuckerberg diagnoses the problem.
Already one of the main things that we see people using Meta AI for is kind of talking through difficult conversations that they need to have with people in their life. It's like, okay, I'm having this issue with my girlfriend or whatever, like, help me have this conversation. Or like, I need to have this hard conversation with my boss at work. Like, how do I have that conversation? There's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connectivity, connection than they have.
So, Pastor Joe, Zuckerberg is defining this really as a problem to be solved, right? So people need connectivity, they need their questions answered, they need relationship advice. If an algorithm can do that, and you can create a human-like voice to be able to respond to you, places like nursing homes, places like other environments where we can solve that problem. What is he missing that a machine can't do? If they're saying all the same things, maybe they can't give you a hug, but doing all the same functions of a friend, answering your questions.
Well, the first thing I want to say is, he said we have less than 3 friends. I actually have 5,000 friends. It's on Facebook, but it's not. But I think what he's missing is it's this one-off. You know, technology is like a one-off when it comes to relationships. And so God, as was said here, created us to have a relationship, a personal relationship in close proximity with each other. But now, if you have 3 good friends, nowadays, I think that that's good, because you may have a lot of associates, but as far as friends, but when we put this line between us and actually human interaction, I think that we're going to always be lacking. So an algorithm can give me the right information, but it's not doing it from a human empathetic standpoint. So when I talk to another human being, they're going to give me a good emotional, empathetic response, as opposed to the generic response that this is how you should say things, as opposed to this is how it would make me feel to respond in a certain way.
But the robot can be programmed to say, I love you, Joe. I mean, let's look at what theologian Dr. Tim Keller says about friendship. He says, friendship is a deep oneness that develops when 2 people, speaking truth in love to one another, journey together to the same horizon. Now, that is very different from programming your AI chatbot or whatever service you're using to read the Bible and say, that's my value system, so teach me back my value system, or tell me what I believe, right? If you're giving advice to someone who is lonely today, and is so intimidated by the prospect of making friends, where do you start? Because I know people are hearing this, yeah, I agree, but there's no other option for me.
Well, I think our lived experience, right, is what connects us. And so we can, like Pastor Green said, we can empathize with people because we've gone through maybe similar things.
But where do I get one of these friends? Where do I get a real
flesh
friend?
And blood.
Yes, I mean,
but
AI doesn't have the human experience. It doesn't have the lived experience.
What do you have to? Let me press you a little harder on this. What do you have to do if you're in a nursing community and you are essentially all alone? You know the nurses there, that's your job. But how do you go from being, hey, you're my caregiver, you bring me my food, to building a relationship with somebody? Because some of us have forgotten, I think, what does it mean to actually have a relationship? What are the questions you have to ask? What do you have to do to build this friendship?
Well, first off, with those who are or older adults in nursing homes, the Bible talks about families should be caring for those individuals. And if they don't, they're worse than an unbeliever. So I think all of us should be considering our own lives and the people in our lives and what is keeping us from building those relationships, finding out who they are and finding out what makes them tick or what their hopes and dreams are. How can we pray for one another? Those are the interactions.
My problems. That's
right.
Michelle, I'll give you the word here. What is the way to begin the process of building a lasting and meaningful and deep friendship?
Okay. Well, one thing I think would be important to put out here is it's not all about what we're gaining, right? We're in this world for a purpose. We're all pieces of a bigger puzzle. And so when we're sitting there, no matter how scary it might be, maybe we've been in abusive situations, so we're afraid to put ourselves out there. I would encourage people to dig in deep and really know that you have a purpose. And part of your purpose is reaching other people, connecting with others. And as scary as that is, God will help you connect. I dealt with a lot of rejection and abandonment, having been adopted for a long time. And even though I had a lot of acquaintances and friends, inside, there was a lack of being able to really connect at a deep level. It is scary, and it means being a little vulnerable. But remember, you have a bigger purpose, and
Be
just
vulnerable.
start talking to people.
Find your purpose. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Joe, we're going to have you back next time for some more thoughts. I know you have more.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, coming up on Morning Light, Lighthouse TV's host, Digging for Truth, Henry Smith, talks about this year's Dig to Israel. That's next. You're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. The host of Lighthouse TV's Digging for Truth, Henry Smith, is here to talk about this year's trip to Israel and what they hope to uncover. Henry, you are taking a trip in May, June. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so each year our ministry, we do an expedition to Israel to excavate, do an archaeological excavation at biblical Shiloh. Our program is actually 6 weeks long. We have a couple of tours that we offer people if they want to come on the trip, and 4 weeks of excavating at Shiloh. We invite people to come who have experience or no experience. We train people, volunteers. Most of the people that come on the dig have never been on a dig before, so they come and they learn how to dig in the land. Of course, Shiloh was where the tabernacle was for 3 centuries, so it's an extremely important site from the time of Joshua all the way down into the Judges period into 1st and 2nd Samuel.
Now, you've been doing this for a number of years.
Yes.
How many people are planning to go on this trip?
Well, this year we're looking at somewhere between 120 and 130 people, so a really strong group of folks are going, and it's a nice group. We'll get a lot done, and there'll be a lot of energy and a lot of work.
So tell us about that daily schedule.
Yeah, so the fun part is we get up at 4 a.m. So we have our breakfast. We head out around 5 to the site. We get there around 5:30. We spend the day excavating. We call second breakfast. We have at 10:30. If you remember from the Lord of the Rings, second breakfast. That's what we do. While we're on site, we do our excavation work. And then at the end, at 1 o'clock, we wash our pottery. All the pottery that we find during the day has to be cleaned and washed. The next day it gets analyzed. Then we have some ice cream. We go down to the ice cream shop. That's the reward for a hard day's work.
Yes.
And then we get on the bus and we head back to Jerusalem. We get back about 3 o'clock. Take showers, eat a full dinner, maybe an evening lecture, in bed by 8, and then up at 4 again the next day. So it's a rigorous schedule, but it's awesome.
Yeah, sort of life-changing for sure.
It is certainly life-changing.
What do you hope to find on this trip?
Well, there's 2 major things that we're working on. One is we have found a building that matches the dimensions of the tabernacle very closely. So we're going to continue to excavate that to see if that continues to show itself to be the case, and if the pottery and other stuff matches the time frame from the scripture, which so far it does. The second thing is we have what's called a sacred dump, where they would take the bones from the sacrificial system after they sacrificed the animals, and they would dump them into a deposit. And people would take expensive pottery and even gold and put it in this deposit. We have found numerous pieces of gold, which is extremely unusual.
Oh my goodness.
And also what we call cultic pottery. This is special pottery, not cooking pots and things like that, but special religious type of pottery that someone threw into this, what we call dump, as an offering. And the gold represents an offering. So we have found thousands and thousands of animal bones in this dump, which indicates this is where the sacrificial system was. So we're going to continue to explore those and a few other parts of our project as well. Really cool stuff, all very closely correlated with what the scriptures say about ancient Shiloh.
So if you find something,
Yes.
what happens to it? Can you take it home?
No, you can't take it home. You know, in the old days, in the way old days, you know, the British, they would go around the world and dig up stuff and they would take it back to England, but we can't do that. You can't do that anymore. It all belongs to Israel. But we analyze it, we photograph it, we study it, we look for other items that have been found elsewhere that are similar. We publish it if it's appropriate. But most of what we find, disappointingly, goes into a warehouse. Hardly ever to be seen again, except by maybe other archaeologists. If it's something extremely important, it might make its way into a museum. But that is a little disappointing, you know, you can't take it home. But Israel has very strict rules about that, so we have to follow those.
Such a wonderful trip, and it really takes you back in time. It seems like you're stepping back in history.
You are. And we also find that when people come, they not only have the experience of archaeology, they have a spiritual experience. Sometimes the Holy Land is called the fifth gospel. I never really understood that until I actually went and experienced it. And we see sometimes people who have drifted away from God, especially young people, they come on our dig and they feel like the experience reconnects them. Sometimes the exhaustion of working in the field brings down people's barriers spiritually, and God does great things in their life. We've heard a lot of testimonies from people that go beyond the work that we're doing. And so we always just trust that God will do what he plans to do. We don't know what it's going to be, but that he works those things out in people's lives. So it really is extraordinary, not only the fun of digging, but the joy of getting closer to the one who created us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
All right, let's do it. We'd love to have you. Anyone can join. And we train you in the field, and like I said, people find it to be a life-changing experience.
Thank you so much, Henry.
You're welcome.
And I would love to go. If you are interested in joining Henry and the team on a dig in Israel, visit digshiloh.org. Coming up next on Morning Light, Tim Slothower joins us with our Good Money segment. We are back right after the break. We just heard about Henry Smith's trip to Israel. If you are planning a trip like that, preparing for college, or looking to retire, financial planning is essential. And hiring a Christian financial advisor can help you achieve your goals in a biblical way. Earlier, I spoke to Tim Slothower. Tim, let's talk about financial advisors. What does a financial advisor do?
Well, a financial advisor is a guide who helps people navigate the financial maze of life. Their goal is to create a plan to help individuals reach their goals or get as close as possible. As with all plans, things change, life happens, tax laws change, regulations change, and so there's needed adjustments that happen. And an advisor really tries to help to align your investments to support your goals so that everything in your financial picture is working together to move you in that direction.
And this is really someone who is walking beside you every step of the way throughout your life. Let's also now throw in, how can a Christian financial advisor really make a difference?
Well, in Proverbs 15:22, it says, "Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed." Now, this doesn't guarantee success if you have a lot of advisors, but it does indicate that having counsel, wise counsel, is very essential. And one of the most intimate topics that we discuss is money. I mean, think about it. How many people in your life do you actually talk about money with? For most of us, that's very few. And so a financial advisor is a person of influence in our lives. And they either can point us towards Christ or they can point us away from the Lord. And so having someone who understands your worldview and is going to encourage and challenge you to use the resources that God has entrusted to you in a God-honoring way is extremely valuable. This has tremendous implications when we think about giving. If you go to a non-Christian financial advisor, they may try to talk you out of giving, where hopefully a Christian advisor would encourage you not to do that. Thinking about tax planning, only providing those ethical ways with which to save money on taxes. And even with investments, looking at biblically responsible or faith-based investing, which really is only offered through Christian financial advisors. So it really does have a lot of impact when you think about the practical implications of this.
So how can you really go about finding a good Christian advisor?
One of the best places to start is asking your friends or family for recommendations. They may have a great source for you that would be a great fit. If you wanted to cast the net a little wider, there's a website called Kingdom Advisors. That's an organization that specifically trains advisors on biblical stewardship matters so they can advise their clients. And there's varying levels of the way that those advisors will allow their faith to be implemented in their business. So it's important to check out the website of any advisor that you may be wanting to look at to see how it is that they use their faith or don't use their faith in their business practice. And it's important to remember that at the end of the day, you are not able to outsource the stewardship responsibility that you have before the Lord. Having a good Christian financial advisor or other advisor is really helpful, but you are still responsible for those decisions that are made.
Yeah, that's certainly some good advice. So once you have a list of some people that you would like to contact, what are some of the questions that you really should ask?
That's a great one. The first that I would say, and I think is the most important, is how does your faith impact your business? Just because someone's a Christian and also a financial advisor doesn't mean that they allow it to influence their work. The next one is, are you a fiduciary at all times? So a fiduciary is legally required to put your interest above their own. And unfortunately, in the financial services industry, this definition of fiduciary has been really muddied, and it's very hard to tell nowadays who's a fiduciary, but asking that directly may be able to give you a solid answer on when they serve in that capacity. How do you get paid? Is it hourly? Is it a percentage of assets? Is it a flat fee or commission? What services do you provide? Some people who call themselves financial advisors only do investments, while others, in addition, will also do financial planning, help you with everything else in your life and kind of walk through all those decisions with you. And the last is, what designations do you have? That's the alphabet soup. After every advisor's name is a bunch of letters. That means something. The two that are the most important are called the Certified Financial Planner designation, also known as the CFP. That has a fairly rigorous process of educational requirements to receive. And the second is called the Certified Kingdom Advisor, which indicates that an advisor has received stewardship training and is more knowledgeable about biblical matters, which can be very helpful for you.
Yeah, some great advice. Tim, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for more information about hiring a Christian financial advisor, visit gracefinancialadvisors.com. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up Monday on Morning Light, we will introduce you to a faith-based nonprofit coffee shop in central Pennsylvania that partners with foster youth aging out of the system. The Crackpot Coffee Shop offers coffee and much more. Its mission, encourage young adults to become empowered and independent. And that's a look at what's coming up Monday on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts, and have a wonderful weekend.
You have a great weekend, and I'm excited about Monday. Foster care, we talked about it on the panel this week. It's a big deal in Pennsylvania. We need more foster parents.
It will be a good show.
Yeah. Well, this morning's conversation on friendship might have been difficult. The idea of having a friend, even an AI friendship, might sound like the answer to a long stretch of loneliness. I get that. Real friendship is risky. Real friendship means transparency. You've got to be authentic. You can't pretend anymore. You have to be constantly in the spirit of forgiveness and be prepared to have your routines, your life upside down, disrupted. Real friends call when their hearts are broken and they can't imagine not sharing their greatest moments of joy, that graduation, that special moment, birth of a new child. Friendship is messy. It takes a lifetime to perfect it. Always imperfect, though, and always inconvenient. That's friendship. But it's exactly the way our Creator designed us to live, in community, in friendship, in relationship. This weekend, here's a challenge for you. Ask God to open your heart to someone brand new. Maybe someone a little older, maybe someone a little younger, maybe someone who doesn't fall in the same education bracket, someone that isn't in your neighborhood, your income level. Maybe someone that just moved to the neighborhood, who has been living alone, widower for a long time in your community. Or maybe a first generation of Americans. Think about it. The people who come here often don't have friendships, a support system, the language barrier, so many things. My mom experienced that coming to America, having to reconstruct a whole orbit of friendship. That's the challenge. Build friendships, build relationships. That's what this program is all about. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for spending the week with us. Make a friend. Go check on your neighbors. God willing, we'll see you back here Monday morning.